Another month done, July has been and gone, and here is everything that was on my watch list for the past month. Hey, welcome to the video, a brand new Everything I Watched. July 2026 has been and gone. We are exactly 3 days into August as I record this. So here is everything that was on my July watch list. Admittedly, probably the quietest month that I've had all year, actually. It's been the busiest, quietest month yet so far. I've been all over the place. I had... What do we have? Let me check my calendar, actually. Seeing as I've got this handy device here that tells me everything I did and everything I watched, maybe we should make the most of it. Well, I had 4 weeks non-stop of... No, that's a lie. 2 weeks of a production I was doing of Guys and Dolls. Then I had a week of auditions. I was busy. And then 5 days in Disneyland Paris. So... yeah, bit busy, trying to squeeze some bits and bobs in around that to watch has been a little bit tricky, but I've watched fair enough. I've been talking for 60 seconds. Let's start talking about what I actually watched. We kick off the month on the 1st of July with the Minions and Monsters, the newest installments to the Minions World franchise. I saw this in Screen X. I don't know. Basically, I was going to go and watch the 4:40 p.m. showing of this film, and then my bus was incredibly late, unbelievably late, that I was like, okay, I now no longer can make this film. So then the next showing was a Screen X showing, and I was already there, so I was like, I have to watch this film. I thought this was definitely my least favourite Minions film. Upon reflection, as a movie fan, I probably should have enjoyed it a bit more for all of its, I don't know, nods to cinematography, over the past however many years that we've had of movies. But for a Minions movie, I thought it was my least favourite. I was not a fan of that. I then watched Camp Rock at home. I watched that with my partner. He's trying to get me on a lot of these films. We've got a shared note on our iPhone where we put in films that we want to watch. Admittedly, there's a lot of films that I love that he's not seen, and a lot of films that he loves that I've not seen. So we're trying to get each other to watch films. We set this note up quite a while ago, and to this day, Camp Rock is the only one we watched as of yet. So, although having said that though, I'm not seeing him until September. So in September, hopefully we'll take a few more of those off. But Camp Rock was the first one. As far as the film goes, I quite enjoyed it. I really gutted because I'm watching loads of these Disney Channel movies now. I'm going to watch High School Musical 3 in a couple of weeks with my friend. You'll remember I watched the first two in a video, everything I watched. I think it was April, possibly. So I'm trying to watch all these Disney Channel movies that I missed out on as a kid, and Camp Rock is the latest one. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I then watched Get Hard. This was not very great. It was kind of unbearably corny humour that I would not necessarily argue is that funny, personally. I like Will Ferrell, and I like, what's his name? Kevin Hart. Gosh, I nearly blacked out there. Yeah, I like the both of them, and I think they're brilliant. But I didn't really enjoy this film. I thought them as a dynamic didn't really work that well. But I think maybe that's because I'm comparing the dynamic between The Rock and Kevin. But yeah, wasn't really a fan of this, sadly. The same day at home, I watched Dear John, starring Channing Tatum. This has been on my watch list for a hot minute. And yeah, I did not enjoy this. I didn't feel very emotionally attached to any of these people. I felt no relationship towards these characters. I wasn't really interested. I didn't really understand their communication style. In terms of a romantic communication style. Yeah, I just wasn't interested, and then because of that, I really didn't care, and I think the film was quite long. Yeah, didn't really vibe with that. Although a love story that I did vibe with, I watched Heartstopper Forever, the final installment to the Heartstopper franchise. This is cute. I did a full movie review on this. You can check that out down below, my movie review playlist. And there was actually somebody that commented on my YouTube video, and he made a very good point. I don't think that the story's changed, or, I said something in my movie review about, the fact that it's lost its spark or something like that. But what I meant was, and the guy that commented said the same thing, was it's just matured. And that's kind of what I was trying to say. But sometimes when I film my movie reviews, I know what I want to say, but trying to say it in the right way is quite difficult. But yeah, I think this is a really great film. You know, what was great back then, I love the Heartstopper things. And I do think because it's matured quite a lot, I think it is different to what it once was when we were first introduced to Heartstopper. So it's not lost its spark, it's just matured and it's just different. And I think this is definitely not the same. I would have preferred a series. They try, you know, you can only do so much in a 90-minute film, whereas in a 6-part series you can do so many things. There's so many different storylines. You can delve into loads of different characters and stuff like this, and the character arcs and the character stories and things like that. But you can't really do that in a film. So we mainly focus on Nick and Charlie, and there was nothing really to it other than just a send off. You know, they're in love, and a send off to the Heartstopper franchise, which is essentially what it was. It was cute, it was wholesome. If you like Heartstopper, you'll like this. I then went to the cinema after a long trip away. I went to go Disneyland Paris in between all this. I came back and finally, after a long time of it being out in cinema, caught the new 2026 live action Moana in cinemas. I thought this was fine. It's an identical remake of the original film. It just, for me, again, did a full movie review on this down below. You can check it out. It just, for me, felt very lifeless. And I get, you know, with animation, you can make things look colourful and flowery and blossom and, you know, and the whole animation makes just the whole film bloom. But for this, it just felt very lifeless. And I think if I was to watch Moana, I would never, ever choose to watch the live action. Having said that, I'm undoubtedly going to get the DVD and, you know, just to complete the collection. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It just felt like there wasn't as much soul as there was in the original, which I think is why people liked the original as much as they did. But, you know, it was a great movie and it was a really great live action. So I'm not shitting on it, but yeah, I think they've done better live actions personally. And, you know, I don't really know what they could have done to improve it other than make it a little bit more colourful and a bit more vibrant and add a bit more life into it. Maybe that's all it needed for me personally. But yeah, I don't know, not their best live action, but certainly not their worst. I did enjoy it. I then went to the cinema for the first time seeing Chicken Run. Cineworld are re-releasing a bunch of the Aardman movies in cinemas across the summer in preparation for the new Shaun the Sheep movie that drops in September. Is it September or is it October? I think it's September. And yeah, they're re-releasing a bunch of the Aardman movies, and I saw Chicken Run. Never seen it before. I know I call me a movie connoisseur and I've never seen Chicken Run. But, you know, I feel like I've only recently become a movie connoisseur. I finally come to terms with my love of movies. So I'm trying to catch up on all these films that kind of I never used to watch. And I enjoyed this. This was fun. It gave me like old vibes of watching like Shaun the Sheep on TV as a kid on like CBBC. It was fun. It was a nice little cute film. And I kind of think that's what cinema recently has lost its charm. It's lost its creativity and it's just warmness, which I think this film was. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I then, the next day, went to go and see the 2026 remake of Animal Farm. A lot of people hating on this movie, actually. I've seen a lot of bad reviews about this film. And I can understand why, if you're very protective of the original story, the original films. There's loads of versions of Animal Farm out there. And, you know, this is just a new take on the story. Yes, is it far-fetched? Yes, is it, you know, not that true to the novel? Yes, of course it is. But it's a new way of telling a classic story to a new audience that, you know, are going to be interested in films in a different way than we were maybe 10, 15 years ago. So, you know, it's fine. I get why people didn't like it, but it was fine. Definitely not my favourite film. Definitely would never watch it again, but it was fine. And, you know, like I say, I did a full movie review on that down below. I then went back to the cinema. I went to a new cinema for the first time. It's a cute little independent cinema by me, which I've never been to go and see Toy Story 5. This is my 4th viewing of the film. It's obviously my favourite film of 2026. I can tell you that before even doing my top 10 film video in December later this year. I love it. I love Toy Story, as you can tell. There's something about Toy Story which has such a comforting thing, you know, and I talked about it loads last month in my Everything Watched in June video, because I watched all 4 and then watched Toy Story 5 about 3 times. So I love it, and it's comforting, and I just think they do a great job with these films. I understand, yes, they probably do make them now a little bit, they're more inclined to make them now because of the kind of financial profit they'll gain from the film, obviously. But I also do firmly believe that they make these stories because there's still so many more stories to be told and effectively be told, which is what they did with this. And Toys versus Tech, I thought, was a brilliant concept. They executed it perfectly, in my opinion. So yeah, went for another rewatch. I then went to go back to the Cineworld for the final cinema trip of the month, and I went to go and see Spider-Man: Brand New Day. I loved this film. I loved the Spider-Man films. Again, did a full movie review on that down below. You can check it out. And this was beautiful. This was a great follow-up to No Way Home. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Like I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I'm quite harsh on my reviews and my star ratings, just purely because I don't know. I think if you're giving a film a 10 out of 10, you've got to really, really love it. Do you know what I mean? So to give it high ratings, I'm very, very cautious and very, some would say, harsh. And yeah, I'd agree I'm harsh. But this was a great film. I just loved it. It felt like classic Spider-Man. I was talking to my friend who also loves the cinema, and she was saying a very valid point, which I really didn't think about. When you think of Spidey, like, you had Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and they were figuring stuff out by themselves. They were working out how to be Spider-Man by himself. Whereas I think what Tom Holland Spider-Man has lacked quite a lot is his individuality and the fact that he's got to try and figure it out by himself, which he hasn't had to do. In the first one, we had Iron Man helping him out. We've had the Jake Gyllenhaal character help him out. We had Doctor Strange in the third film. Like, there's always been somebody helping him out. And I get that there is still somebody in this film that's helping him out. The sun is shining. I can see a sun reflection. I'm trying to cover it up. Maybe I might have to move the camera. Should we move the camera? Unprofessional? I don't know. And yes, he's had to have people help him out with this film, but there's more of him doing it by himself. There's more of him figuring it out by himself because he's got nobody else that knows who he is. He has to figure it out by himself. So yeah, it was really nice, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this film. And then the last film that I watched this month, I went to an outdoor cinema. I've never done an outdoor cinema, and I wouldn't necessarily call it an outdoor cinema. It was like a projector that was outside, and it was just a nice little family night that was at my local pub, and we watched Shrek. I rewatched Shrek a few months ago, but yeah, that was just the film that they chose. We didn't actually find out what film it was until 10 minutes before it started, so it was a free little event, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was kind of on in the background, but I was watching it, and I know Shrek. I love Shrek, so yeah. A very, very good film. They're all the movies I saw in July 2026. Not a huge amount. I'm going to tell you exactly how much I've saved with my Cineworld Unlimited card in just a second. But I'm very conscious. This sun is shining. Let me sort that out. Okay, this feels much more intimate because the camera is much closer to me to block the sun out. But let's get back to what we were doing. I've seen a total of only 6 films at the cinema this month, which is the quietest cinema month to date this year. 6 films with my unlimited card. Obviously, I've got them all for free except Screen X, my small minions. I had to pay a small uplift, but deducting that away. Without my unlimited card, going to see these all of these screenings by themselves would have cost me £49.96. So even with only seeing 6 films this month, that's still just off 50 quid. So I'm very excited to see how much the whole year comes to when we calculate it in December. But yeah, not calculating it. I have no idea what the running total is so far. I'm not doing it deliberately because I want to find out at the end of the year and see how much I would have saved. Yeah, very exciting. Anyway, although I didn't see a huge amount of films this month, I watched quite a few series and documentaries. We started off the month by seeing series 3 of Behind the Attraction. It's basically a series that kind of talks about, all the behind the scenes of Disney parks and Disney rides and things like that. Series 3 covered the Disney Cruise Line, which I thought was really interesting because that was great. Like, I've never even thought about researching and looking into that. I love Disney. I love these documentary type things where we can learn more about stuff like this that we don't actually ever think about, really, when you don't necessarily go on a cruise and think about how much time and effort goes into all of it. So yeah, it was very, very interesting. I enjoyed watching that. I then watched a documentary on BBC iPlayer by G.K. Barry. It's called Toxic Gossip. I can't remember what the app was called, but it was really interesting. It was like a forum that kind of basically, it's advertised as a forum that means people can just speak freely about topics and stuff like that. This obviously naturally evolves into a forum where people just hate on creators, on people, just anybody that they can talk shit about, essentially. And yeah, Geek About did a really interesting documentary, kind of basically holding the owners of this website accountable for letting all of these like death threats, nasty comments and language and things like that to account. He was holding the owners to account and tried to get them for an interview and things like that. It's a short watch, only 45 minutes, but it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed things like this as well. I then watched Teen Predator Online Killer with my mum. We love true crime. I think it's so fascinating and sometimes really breathtaking, which is exactly what this was. Like, hearing this true story about this child doing stuff that he was doing, and I don't want to spoil it in case you are going to watch it, but the staggering statistics on the amount of cases that he had with young people was in the thousands, and it was just ridiculous. It was so fascinating and so interesting, and really upsetting actually to just think that that person was such a threat but went unnoticed. Yeah, very interesting. My mum asked I wanted to see an episode of something called The Trial. We thought it was kind of like a 4-part drama on Channel 5. It was actually only a 1-episode thing, and it was really boring. The concept was quite cool. It was about it was set in the future and about your child being convicted of crimes and then holding the parents accountable, which I'm not saying I agree with. Not for 1 minute saying I agree with, but I thought the concept was quite cool. Basically, I don't know, but using all this new technology that they have in the future to then use it as evidence against, and basically holding parents accountable for their child's mistakes and things like that. I don't for 1 second agree with it, that's not what I'm saying, but I thought the concept was quite cool as a drama, but I was expecting more of a 4-part, 6-part series rather than 1 episode. Like, it finished and I was like, okay, cool, next episode. And I was like, oh, sorry mum, it's only 1 episode. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy that. I thought it was just very, I don't know, strung out unnecessarily to make it something that it really wasn't. I think the concept was there. I don't actually think in practicality it worked, and in practice it wasn't that great and it wasn't that enjoyable. But we live and we learn, and we don't always enjoy things that we watch. And then the last thing I watched this month was series 9 of Michael McIntyre's Big Show. I love this show. I really do. I remember watching it like a few years ago, watching like 1 episode because it came on after something that we were watching on BBC One, and I was like, oh, I really enjoyed this, and then I just never watched it. And like, I used to watch Saturday Night Takeaway. I loved Anton Deck's Saturday Night Takeaway, and Mike McIntyre's Big Show is very much the same sort of essence as Saturday Night Takeaway. So I don't know why I never watched it. But about a year ago, I really started knuckling down my watch list, and I have been quite a lot, as hopefully you would have been able to see over my everything I've watched videos. And I started watching it. I watched about 3 series of it. I watched series 1 of it. And I want to watch every single series. I watched series 9, which was the most recent one that's on BBC iPlayer. There's a few series left that I need to watch. I can tell you exactly what series they are. But unfortunately, BBC iPlayer doesn't have every single series of Mike McIntyre's Big Show. So I've watched series 1, series 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. I've not watched 2, 3 and 4 because basically they're not available on BBC iPlayer, and wherever they're available elsewhere, there's only like certain episodes available, and I want to watch the whole series if I'm going to watch it. So hopefully one day I'll be able to watch series 2, 3 and 4. But yeah, I watched series 9 and I loved it. It's really good. And I don't know, there's something about Mike McIntyre which I don't know whether what we see on telly is necessarily him. I think maybe he puts on a bit of a front, but I think he's great. I think he's funny, and I think he's got this nice little charm, which is great for like Saturday Night TV, which is, and I enjoy The Wheel as well. The Wheel, exactly the same as Big Show. Like, I watched The Wheel back like on a telly one night, and then I wanted to watch all of it. And I'm doing exactly the same thing as I'm doing with Michael McIntyre's Big Show. I'm doing it with Michael McIntyre's The Wheel as well. So there you go. Useless trivia, which you now know. And with that in mind, that comes to the end of everything that I watched in July 2026. Admittedly, a very quiet month this month. But August is pretty chill. I say pretty chill. I'm out there doing things most days. But we're knuckling down on stuff. We've already got a couple of things on my watch list already ready for next month's video. So there we go. Like I say, everything I watched in July. Tick down below in the description is a link to my movie review playlist. You'll find loads of movie reviews that I've done in that playlist, and quite a few of them I did in July. Minions you'll find, Heartstopper down there, Moana, Spider-Man, they're all in my movie review playlist, which is linked down below. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you in another video, hopefully another movie review and my everything I watched in August video in a month's time.